Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. We are here today on our special edition of our Training Thursday show of the Cabral Concept, a show that we used to do for 3 or 4 years straight before we introduced our conversations with Cabral. I love being able to talk with you all things fitness and weightlifting and working out and burning body fat through those, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Many of you might know that I have a doctoral degree in naturopathy, board certified. I work in functional medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, bioregulatory medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, orthomolecular medicine, all those great integrative forms of medicine. But I actually got my start over 20 years ago now in the fitness-based field. I first became a certified nutritionist and then later a personal trainer while in undergrad, and then later a strength and conditioning specialist through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. So it was it's really been an amazing progression for where I've been able to start and what I've been able to just continue to accumulate each year. A lot of people, they might look at it as, well, it's a lot of certifications, a lot of this, a lot of that. You have to understand is all I did was chip away a little bit each and every year. And I know there's a lot of personal trainers listening to the show. There's a lot of integrative health practitioners. Just try to do a little bit every year. And that's all I did. And you have to keep in mind that for all of this in this health-based industry and fitness-based industry is you need to keep up with your certifications. So meaning that every year or 2 years, you need to submit continuing education credits. And those continuing education credits, those CECs or CEUs, they can be applied through learning something new. So when I was a personal trainer, I would take additional classes on nutrition. I became a certified yoga instructor. I did all sorts of different things. I got certified as a golf professional conditioning specialist, something like that. All these different things that I thought would be very useful in helping my clients, but also from my own knowledge, I could grow from those as well. So it's an amazing field where it's never ending. Right now, I spend a lot of my research and a lot of my study time in different types of bioenergetics. I study a lot of bioregulatory medicine. I study a lot of research into anti-aging. And so again, there's no limit to this. There might not be any certifications for me to get, but I do my continuing education through studying other things as well. And so again, I just want to take a little aside there to share with you that, these are passions of mine. And so I love to study them anyways, but I always want you to know that there's always more. And so whatever you know and however healthy you've gotten or how you've transformed your body, there is another level to that if you want it. And what I want to talk about today is simply the absolute best exercises to burn more fats. And it's been a little while now. It's been about 6 months since we did any of our Training Thursday shows. And I don't want to forget about these roots, right? I want to make sure that I get back to them every once in a while. So we'll be doing a couple of shows here over the next couple of weeks on our Training Thursday, just because there's a lot that I want to talk about. I know a lot of people are getting into body transformation-based programs now that we're getting into the springtime. So what does that mean? Well, we see a lot more people kind of getting back to the gym, or I know that we're still, with a lot of social distancing policies and different things like that, but you might be working out at home. You might be doing your online programs. All of that's great. I want you to better know what to choose for a program as well. And again, this is going back to hundreds of thousands of appointments we've done with clients. Like, we absolutely do know it works. And it's just not me. Like, when I talk with a bunch of my friends and colleagues in the field, whether it's Jay Ferrugia, Ben Pekulski, it might be a Ben Greenfield, it might be Sal from Mind Pump, like, it could be any of these people, all great, knowledgeable people. They're going to tell you that, listen, there's a handful, couple dozen exercises. Those are the only ones that really need to be done. Now, you can create variations on those to make them a lot more interesting for you, but I'm going to share with you, here are the exercises that you have to be doing. Now, it can be some variation of that, whether you do it with a kettlebell, a dumbbell, a barbell, a landmine, a sandbag, that's up to you, right? Like, the different modalities for adding some type of weight to your body or some type of tension or force, that's up to you. That's up to you, your personal trainer, your workout program. But here's the issue. And again, I lived in this world for so long and I loved it. I mean, I really did. I mean, I was full time for a decade, like 40 hours a week, not even 40 hours a week, 40 appointments, like 40 training sessions a week, which probably was 60 hours or so a week. And again, absolutely loving it. I spent, when I wasn't training clients, I was working out, I was working on my nutrition, all those great things. And then of course, studying for the next certification. But here's the thing. Every single year I'd see people try to burn more body fat by doing more cardio and by doing more small exercises, I call them, right? The small ones. And here's why. Doing cardio, and you might not even think this way, but doing cardio is almost like the easy way out. I don't discount the fact that you should do cardio. You should absolutely do cardio. You absolutely should for your health. And yes, it does burn body fat. For all the people out there who would say that it doesn't, it absolutely does. And it actually is good for your blood sugar as well. And I only know that because I got into then functional medicine and I'm looking at blood glucometer readings, like just charts of them, spreadsheets from my, private wellness clients that I worked with that had diabetes or type 2 diabetes or whatever it might be. And we could see, hey, the days that they did some cardio the evening before or that morning, they had better blood sugar. Not from resistance training, no, because we can actually see a spike in blood sugar from resistance training. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, but just know that there are benefits to cardio as well. But here's the issue. When you're trying to burn body fat and you're doing cardio, it's self-limiting, meaning that it will work for a period of time and then it almost backfires, because if you stop it, you burn less calories, you start to gain more weight. So that's one reason why it's not so great, so that you just need to run longer. Like that's the issue. You can't run faster because then it becomes anaerobic and then you can't do it anymore. So then you have to go longer, and that's not great for your joints, not great for your body. After you're running for 40 minutes, that's enough. Like that's enough time. 30, 40 minutes of aerobic cardio, it's plenty. So you need to do something else, right? And doing more of that is not the best way to do it, especially in the long run, because you become more catabolic, which means if you're not doing strength training and you're only doing cardio, you're going to burn more muscle tissue. Now, in the short term, you might say, great, because the scale's moving. But in the long term, I assure you, it's not a good thing, because your body's going to look softer, not ideal. Your muscles are going to look less toned, and yes, I'm doing that in air quotes, and you're going to be forced to eat less and less calories because your muscle is what's the most metabolic on your body in terms of tissue, not necessarily talking about digestion, all the other phases of energy and bioenergetics, but the actual tissue in your body, your muscle. And if you use it doing some exercises, then you actually become more metabolic as well. And cardio is not one of those items. So again, cardio, yes, I like it. I'll share with you how I would do it in just a moment, but it's not the end all be all for fat loss. That's for sure. I don't know. It's not what so many people do it. I see them on the treadmill. They go in the gym and they just run. Okay. Yes, it has some effect, but it's self-limiting. The other is this. The other one I see is this, is these boot camps and these just kind of one for all classes where you choose a pair of dumbbells, maybe two, and you just use those for the whole class, no matter the exercise. So you're telling me if I do a bicep curl, that's the same weight I should use if I'm doing a deadlift as well? That doesn't make any sense. I'm working a muscle here that for some people might be the size of a lemon. Some people, the biggest it might get to is a grapefruit, but that's it. And then you're looking at your glutes, which should be 3, 4, 5 times the size of that, and your quads and your hamstrings. You're telling me you're using the same weight or even close to it? No, you want to be using 5 times or so the amount of weight. You want to be using a lot more weight. So the issue is too much cardio and too many small exercises. And people do the small exercises for a couple reasons. One is they believe they want to work the muscles that they want to tone more. So, I want more toned biceps, triceps, and shoulders. Okay, well, a lot of people do. You want your arms to look toned. Great. So you think about doing lateral raises and shoulder presses and curls and tricep extensions and whatever else it might be, right? So what are you doing? Well, you're doing, except for that shoulder press I just mentioned, you're doing single joint exercises. All that means is that you're working one joint. So when you do a curl, if you're watching this on video, all I'm doing is bending one joint, right? That's my elbow. I go from extension to flexion, extension to flexion. That's all that it is. And the triceps, the same thing. The only difference with the triceps is the force of the weight, right? So with triceps, I'm going from what? Extension, where I'm working my tricep, to flexion, where I'm not working my tricep, right? Eccentrically, I'm working it. So what does that mean? Well, again, it's only a single joint. If you do a lateral raise, well, the only thing moving is that one shoulder glenohumeral joint, right? So your humerus bone goes up to this glenoid right here, or the cup of your shoulder, and that's it. You're just working that one joint. So that's the issue, is that we are working single joint. Why does that matter? Well, it's so inefficient, meaning that you're putting all the weight on one joint, fine, but you're probably using light weights, which does very little for stoking your metabolism. Why? Because there's very little stress output. You might be like, oh, that was a hard set, but it's working what? Just one tiny amount of muscle on your bicep or your tricep or this lateral deltoid right here. That's it, right? So here's the issue. What you are really doing, and this is a little bit of tough love, all right? Sometimes on the podcast, I need to give a little tough love. You're really, if you're choosing cardio, and you're choosing these small single joint exercises, like sitting on a leg extension machine or any of those, what you're really doing is taking the easy way out. And again, this is tough love. I want to say this, maybe it's not you, but that is the easy way out. But it's also going to give you the least amount of results in the long term. You're not going to get your best results because little effort in, little progress out. Now, you might say, well, I'm running for an hour. Okay, yes, running for an hour is a lot of time, but it's not necessarily a lot of work on the body once you got used to running for an hour. Now you need to run for an hour and 10, hour 20, hour and a half, and I don't recommend that. Okay, because of all the repetitive motion breakdown. And if your goal is fat loss, it's just not efficient because you can get a good 20-minute workout that's way more efficient at burning body fat. Okay, so then the single joint exercises, you're like, well, I did 100 reps for my biceps and 100 reps for my triceps and 100 reps for my shoulders, right? Well, okay, good. But in order to do those 100 reps, you needed to use a very light weight, right? Because your muscles didn't fatigue for maybe 25 reps a set if you did 4 sets, or who knows how many reps you're doing in those boot camps. Take a little sip of water here. So, like I said, and again, tough love, just that, but it's only because I care, is that you're honestly taking the easy way out. Because you're saying, and I know that you've been told before, well, I could do those squats over here, but I'm not going to do those because, I've got knee problems, or I don't want knee problems in the future, etc. Those are excuses we like to give ourselves. But let me back it up, though, with a little bit more. I want to take a little bit more of a gentle approach because I really want you to understand the methodology behind this. I want you to get results. If you want to burn more fat, you need to give your body a reason to burn more body fat. So we're taking nutrition out of the equation here. We're just talking about exercise, how to burn more body fat through exercise. So if you want to burn more body fat, you need to give your body a reason to, which means this. You need to stoke the metabolism. Because your metabolism then is going to require more calories. And when you're not working out, it's able to use fat as a greater fuel source. When you're working out, believe it or not, your percentage of fat to glucose actually goes down, meaning you start to burn more glucose during a workout rather than body fat. And by the way, if you're training anaerobically, just because you're on a keto diet doesn't mean that all of a sudden you just get to start burning ketones and body fat. That is a poor bill of goods you've been sold. That's the truth. If your body is in more of an anaerobic state, you're simply going to produce more cortisol and glucocorticoids as blood sugar drops and your body needs glucose. And what's it going to do? Well, it will break down your muscle tissue if it needs it, if your body does not have carbohydrates in it at that time, or you've depleted yourself of liver glycogen, because your body will stay alive. When you drop in a low blood sugar, your sugar is not going to increase just because you start endogenously producing ketones. That is not how the human body works. And anybody that's telling you that it is just mistaken. That's all. They want it to be true. And that would be great, but it's not true. That's not how your body works. So we work with the body. So when we're exercising, we're not all that worried about burning a whole lot of body fat, to be honest with you, because let's even say I exercise for an hour a day. Well, I've got 23 more hours that I can be burning body fat. That's my real goal, is to stoke that metabolism. And there's only one way to do that, is to give your body some real work. Now, as I just alluded to, 20 minutes. I'm not talking about back-breaking workouts. Give me 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes maximum if you've been training for a while. And that allows you to complete about 16 to 18 sets maximum. What does that look like? It's as easy as thinking this: 5 exercises, 3 sets. That's 15 sets. That's really all that you need for a good workout. However, you don't get to choose the exercises. The exercises have already been chosen for you. And I want to share with you what those exercises are right now. So those exercises are called compound exercises. Compound, meaning two joints or more working at the same time. So as I alluded to earlier, when you're doing something like a bicep curl or a tricep extension in a boot camp or exercise class, or even just on your own, because you want to see those muscles work in the mirror. So you start doing your lateral raises and your bicep curls and your tricep extensions and your kickbacks and all those different things. You're working a small amount of muscle because there's only one joint. Now, let's say we started to do a shoulder press. Well, what do we have? Well, we have an elbow joint, and we have a shoulder joint moving, right? Still not the greatest exercise in the world for the shoulder girdle itself, but a good exercise, nothing wrong with that. But it gets even deeper. When we look at compound exercises, we can actually decide the amount of muscle we want to work. And if you know how big the muscles are that you're working, and you work those muscles, you are guaranteeing yourself, you're literally guaranteeing yourself to burn more body fat because you are stoking your metabolism to a greater degree. Because muscle requires energy. It requires energy at rest. There's all sorts of different calculations out there, like 35 calories per pound of dry muscle, per day. If the muscle is worked, it's 50 calories. Again, it's going to vary per individual. So I don't want to give you those specific statistics because it's not going to be exact for you. And you'd also have to figure out the dry weight of your muscle as well, because the actual sarcoplasm, the fluid inside is not going to be working. But if you look at it like this, think about where the most amount of muscle is on your body. If you look at your upper body, we're not talking about the chest muscles, although there's some good muscle there, or the arms. We're really talking about your back muscles, okay? We're talking about your lats. We're talking about your rhomboids. We're talking about your mid, lower, upper traps, okay? Big muscles. How do we work those? Well, we work those with pull-ups or chin-ups, okay? Chin-ups might be a little bit more bicep dominant, but you can definitely get your back in there. We work them with any type of row. And rows are one of your best exercises because they strengthen your rotator cuff muscles and they work all of those back muscles. You get to work your rhomboids, you get to work your traps as stabilizers, you get to work your lat muscles as well, your latissimus dorsi. So all of that is great because you get to work those big muscles and it helps your posture. So that's a great thing. Problem is, you don't see those in the mirror, right? But they're on the backside of your body, but guaranteed to help stoke that metabolism. We'll bring it all together in just a minute. But now let's think about the lower body, because again, I always like to use the 80-20 rule. What's the 20% of exercises we could do that would get us 80% of the results? So that's why this doesn't mean that you can't work your arms in the future, you can't work your abs. I'm not saying that. You can't even do calf. I'm not saying you can't do calf raises. What I'm saying is that's the 80% of the stuff you could do that only gets you 20% of the results. I want to help you get 80% of the results with just 20% of the effort. That's it. So we can do that by doing things like the rows, right? By doing the compound movements for the upper body. A row, what are we doing? Well, we're moving the shoulder joint and we're moving your elbow joint. Okay, great. What rows can you do? Seated rows, although ideally I like to get people standing. A standing one-arm row, a standing bent over row. You could do a chin-up. You could do a pull-up, even assisted with bands. There's nothing wrong with that. But think about this. Think about the lower body. Here's a fact that you may not have heard before. Between your kneecap and the top of your hip bone, which is called that iliac crest, that's about 60% of all of the muscle in your body. For some people, it might even be greater. So think about that. And here's why. You only have one bone in your upper leg called your femur. Everything around that is either going to be muscle mass, some type of fibrous-based tissue like your fascia, or body fat. Well, we are working all of that muscle. So we're working your glutes, largest muscle in the body, right? And you have multiple parts to your glutes. We're working your flexor and extensor muscles in your hips. We're working your quadriceps on the front of your leg and your hamstrings on the back. If we work those, each workout, what do? Stoke the metabolism. Those muscles require energy in terms of calories or body fat, stored body fat, to rebuild, refuel the body. And also just in terms of energy output, well, where are you going to get that energy from? Body fat counts. We can use body fat as long as we're on the same calorie diet or a little bit lower. So what does that mean? Well, it means that each one of our workouts then, This goes for the majority of people. I'm not talking about bodybuilders. I'm not talking about people that are chemically enhanced. I'm talking about regular people who like to work out about 3 days a week, maybe 4. Okay. So if you're working out 3 days a week, I can't recommend enough to you a Monday, Wednesday, Friday workout routine, or a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Try to get every other day, but no more than 2 days off in a row. Here's why. You get to then do full body workouts of mainly compound movements. What would this look like? Well, let's talk about the legs just for another minute. You have squats. If squats hurt your knees, it is about imbalances between the hamstring and quadricep, and it's some type of flexor extensor tightness. Work with a good functional range conditioning specialist. I was certified through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. You can work with a good NASM personal trainer. Work with someone to help correct those imbalances. A lot of good chiropractors out there can help with this, but you want to correct the imbalances because you can squat. Your body was meant to squat. Every time you sit down in a seat, you're squatting, right? Every time you sit down in the toilet, you're squatting. So you can squat. You just want to be able to do it with some weight on your body so we can tax those muscles to a greater degree. But in the meantime, we can still do Romanian deadlifts, right? We can do regular Olympic-based deadlifts, suitcase deadlifts. We can do step-ups. We can do lunges. These are all amazing exercises that we can do. And again, if you have pain doing a lunge backwards. There's typically less pain with that because the body is then not forcing the knee to go towards the toe with that shearing force. So again, a good personal trainer, a good online instructor, a good virtual-based personal trainer. I linked up a virtual personal trainer the other week. I can link you up with another virtual personal trainer here today on the show notes on today's page. But I'm telling you, by working these muscle groups 2 to 3 times a week, you're going to stoke your metabolism. So what would that look like? Well, you want to do an upper body compound movement, like a shoulder press, like a chest press. Okay, that's your pressing movement. Then you want to do a lower body exercise. That would be something, let's say, like a squat. Then after that, you want to go to the upper body. This is just one example. Upper body, now pull back now. What do? Some type of row. That's easy, right? Some type of row or some type of pull down, pull up. Okay. After that, what do? Let's go back to the legs. Let's do a pulling exercise for the legs. Let's say it's Romanian deadlifts. Fantastic. Then we can end the workout with some type of core-based movement if you'd like. It could be a plank. It could be chops. It could be anything you want. You could even throw in some arms if you wanted there. But you want to be able to get in those compound movements. And then all you would do is take that same workout, do different reps on Wednesday and a different rep range on Friday if you wanted to. That's the simplest of all simple workouts. You only need 5 exercises. Or what you could do is you could actually take the Monday, the Wednesday, and the Friday and do different compound movements on each one of those days. And then you're able to stimulate the muscles in a little bit different way. One day might be let's say a front squat with 2 dumbbells on your shoulder. And then the next, let's say on Friday, you did a squat, and this time it's a goblet squat, right? You might do backwards lunges one day, step ups another day. So you're able to vary it, which I like even more. You just need to make sure you get the right program for you. But what I wanted to do today was actually share with you how the best strength and conditioning specialists, personal trainers, coaches, anybody in the world are able to get their clients better results. And they're able to do that not with longer workouts. Actually, they're shorter workouts, but they're doing more mechanical work on the body. And mechanical means they're doing more joints working. They're getting more muscle tissue to work. So while you're doing that bicep curl right here, what if you were to squat down and press a weight over your head? You're working essentially every muscle in your body. Think about how metabolic that is. Think about how many calories are needed, not only for energy to be able to do that exercise, but then for the repair process to take place over the next couple of days. That's why I like that day off in between as well. The day off in between, now you get to do your cardio, right? Monday could be strength training. Tuesday, you want to do some cardio, enjoy. Wednesday, strength training. Thursday, take the day off or do a little cardio if you want. Friday, strength training. Take the weekend off or feel free to do one of those cardio days on the weekend instead of during the week. So you can come up with a really nice 4 or 5 day plan, get everything in there and burn more body fat than you ever have before. Hopefully today's show was helpful. I really am always happy to take questions. Let me know. I've got my Cabral house calls on the weekends on the podcast, and I also do live office hours now once or twice a month on Instagram and Facebook. Take care, everyone. Again, if the show was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Thank you so much for just tuning into the show. And before you go, I wanted to share with you some fun news. Every March, it is that big, momentous occasion where I celebrate another year on this earth. And every year during my birthday month celebration, what I like to do is I like to share with you exactly what I do each and every year. So each March, at the end of March, I begin my Big 5 labs. That is when I take these 5 specific at-home labs that I've been doing now for over a decade. And actually, these are the same labs that help me get well to figure out what my underlying root cause health issues are and were over 20 years ago. Now I use them to simply optimize my body. So you can use it in 2 ways. The Big 5 labs allows you to figure out what are the underlying root cause issues that are keeping you from getting well, from losing the weight, boosting your metabolism, and then aging at a much slower rate and actually reversing the aging process in many cases. So to learn more about the Big 5 labs and exactly what I do every single March, head on over to equi.life. That's EQUI.LIFE, because for the first 100 Big 5 lab kits, we are actually discounting it by $500 for my birthday week. So that is going on this week. And again, while supplies last, it's the first 100. And just like last time, we ran out of those minerals and metals based tests. So I want to make sure that you get your opportunity, if you've been interested, to see where your vitamin levels, mineral levels, electrolytes, hormones, your digestion, your thyroid, your hemoglobin A1C, all the different numbers that you should be looking at. In addition to your annual blood work, you want to make sure that you are running these Big 5 labs. If you've never heard about them before, definitely head on over to equi.life, EQUI.LIFE for all the details and save $500 while supplies last. I'm telling you right now, this is something that I will continue to do every single year for the rest of my life to make sure I find the different imbalances before they become a bigger issue, which then leads to what we call dis-ease in the body. So again, one more time, head on over to EQUI.LIFE for all the details, and while supplies last, save $500. Take care, everyone.